Yes. Good morning. Welcome. Have to say hello. My name's Neil Patterson. I'm one of the Library and Information Officers here in Central Library in Dundee. This is a new venture for us. Normally we would do our author events in person, but as it will come out during this conversation, Gary Todd, our guest speaker today, is some far away in a distant land. So we'll see how this technology works. No, I'm not 100%, but hopefully this will work. So my guest today, Gary Todd, international and best-selling author of Annie's Boy and 2 non-fiction books about the boxing greats. Gary was brought up in St Mary's in Dundee by his mum in the 1970s and 1980s. He's now living in Australia, Sydney, I think it is. Currently married with 3 children. Wife Jenny is also from Dundee, and he's been employed in the last 25 years as a construction manager, managing billion-dollar underground tunnel construction projects. Gary, welcome. Good to see you.
Hello, Neil. Good to see you as well, mate.
Okay. I'm recording this at 9 o'clock in the morning. We've already discussed this. This is 7 o'clock at night for you.
Yeah, 7 o'clock. Just finished my work. So.
How's the weather? Must be better than Dundee.
It's warm. It's getting to the end of the summer now, thank God. But it's been a long summer. It's you never think you complain about the summer, but I actually don't like the weather. I'm not really here for the weather. The weather's good, but I like when it rains here. It sounds daft, but I like when it bees down and it's windy and all that. It's great, but so it's different when you've got to work in it right enough. I mean, we're lucky because we're working in like decent weather. But I remember the days when I was working in the snow and everything, the ice and the wind. Oh, yeah. I don't miss that.
Good. So let's get started. We're here today to talk about this. We have a copy. We've actually now got 3. Gary was very generous in donating us 1 copy. We've managed to acquire 2 others. So let's start off with the background. Annie's Boy by Gary Todd. Your mum Annie passed in 2011. Why write your memoirs now, Gary?
Yeah. Neil, this started off, it was a bit of a process. When my mum died, I really had a good think to myself about, because we were immigrants across here, my wife, she met my mum, but she never really knew her. She never really knew what we went through. And my kids, they never knew, because I've never spoken about it to anybody. So I got me thinking, and I decided to start writing 30 odd pages for my kids to read, because at the time one of my kids was getting bullied, and I was trying to make them realise, like, sometimes life will knock you down, but you've just got to get back up on your feet again, So that's the reason I done it. So I wrote 30 odd pages. That 30 odd pages, my son went to a radio station here in Sydney. And I went on a radio station, and I got a really good reception, and a lot of people were sending me emails saying you should write a longer story. We'd love to hear it. Blah blah blah. We'd like to, make a movie. All that stuff. And I was just saying to myself, this was it wasn't for that. It was for my kids and my wife. But anyway, so what happened was it got me thinking, and then I thought, well, I'm going to do it. I was busy at work. I was really busy at work, and I thought I'll put it on the back burner. And then a mate of mine in Los Angeles, through the boxing, he wanted to we had a sit down and we had a chat, and he said to me, he says, look, what's your story? He told me his story. I told him my story. He goes, well, have you got anything written down? And I went, well, as a matter of fact, I do. I'll send it to you when I get back from Los Angeles. I'd done that. And he called me one Saturday morning. I'd just finished training, covered in sweat. And my wife says to us, Gary, there's a guy on the phone for Hollywood. And I'm saying, this is a wind-up, And I never thought it was my mate. So I took the phone, and this guy was in tears. And he goes, we have to make a movie on this. And he says, but there's only one condition. You've got to write the screenplay. Yeah. And I went, I'm a construction guy, I've wrote a couple of books on boxing, but writing about boxing is a bit different. And he goes, no, only you can write the story. It's your story. It's your mum's story, and only you can write it. So I thought about it and I says, well, I'll give it a go, you know. So I locked myself away. I wrote the screenplay, and my wife thought I was going off the head. She thought I was going through a midlife crisis or something. And locked myself in a room, me and the dog. And yeah, so I wrote it and I gave it to Jenny to read. And Jenny goes, all the years I've been with you, and you've never mentioned this to me ever. And she was like tears. And the kids read it, the screenplay, and they were like blown away. So after that, my wife said to me, you need to write a book. The screenplay, the film might never happen, but you've got some in there and you need to write the book. You've got all the information, you went to the trouble. So that's when I wrote Annie's Boy, the book. And then I was only, I gave it away to a few, the manuscript away to a few people, publishers, you know, the big publishers, HarperCollins and all that. And you were getting, it was only like a few weeks, maybe 6-7 weeks, and I got an offer. And I couldn't believe it. And then I got another offer. I think I got 5 or 6 offers for publishers around the world. A couple in London, one in Los Angeles, one in New York, and then in Sydney. And I decided to go to the one in Sydney because it was close. You can go down and have a chat with them, have a cup of tea with them, all that stuff. So that's the reason I've done it.
Yeah.
And I was very happy. The publisher's been very good, and I was well chuffed, well happy. I was just to even get it published. I was spinning out. I said, my God, you know, where's this going to go? But the publisher loved it, and they says, look, you've got someone here, Gary, and we really want to, you know, embrace it. Great. So that's what happened.
Good. So can you give us an outline of what you talk about in the book then? Just a brief synopsis.
Brief synopsis is Annie's Boy's about a wee boy and his mum living in the 70s and 80s in Dundee. It's actually a generational book. I think what we went through was probably going on behind closed doors and what have you across the UK. It was a sign of the times, you know. It was pretty brutal. It's emotional. It's just a story about surviving, getting through difficult times. And as I said, it's I like to think it's quite funny as well. I threw a few funny experiences in there, just to try and lighten up the darkness, you know. And yeah, so I'm very proud of it. And obviously the wee boy, I was a wee boy, and Annie was my mum. So as I said before, the reason I started all this journey was because I wanted my kids and my wife to understand me and how I tick, sort of thing. What's made me so driven in life, and obviously coming back for, you know, trauma, if you want to call it trauma. Years ago, when I was that age and I was going through all that kind of stuff, there was no such thing as counselling. There was no such thing as mental health, all that kind of stuff. None of that happened. When we were going through the hard stuff, all they wanted to do was take me away from my mum and put me in a hostel, in a boys' home. And that was their answer, and all the years ago. And nowadays, it's much different. Nowadays, I get involved with, you know, kids and that over here, underprivileged kids, and it's much different now. They get a lot more help, the government and the counsellors and whatever. So it's much better. I'm glad to say. Happy to say.
We'll touch on the content as we go through the interview, because there is the element of poverty and there is the element of domestic abuse in the book as well. But to go back to the initial one, initially you planned to call the book Annie's Prayer, but you changed it to Annie's Boy. Why was this?
Well, I actually was dead set on calling it Annie's Prayer because my mum, even all the difficult times, as far as I can remember, if I was a young kid until I left for Australia, my mum used to pray every night. And I used to lie in the next bedroom, and I used to listen to her praying out loud. And it didn't matter if she was drunk, if she was tired, she'd always pray. And she'd always give everybody a mention. And I got a mention a lot. And that's why I wanted to call it Annie's Prayer, because she prayed all the time and she wasn't getting any help. There wasn't anybody helping her, but she done it nonetheless. So that was it. But the publisher probably rightfully, it was a bit of a sticking point for a wee while, but the publisher said to me, "It sounds too much like a religious book, Gary."
Yeah.
And people will maybe pick it up in a bookshop and say, "Oh, it sounds religious," and they put it back. So it was probably a smart move, but I was adamant I wanted to be called Annie's Prayer, and they said, "Well, they're going to be like a deal breaker. Can you come up with anything else?" And immediately it took me about 4 seconds, and about 4 seconds I went, "All right then, if it's going to be that much of a big deal, Annie's Boy." And they says, "Oh, that's brilliant. We'll love that," and that was how it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've read the first half of the book. Your mum is clearly devoted to you in the bits that I've read, and she was also extremely hardworking. I think for most of her working life, she had about 3 jobs on the go at the same time. Can you describe your mum for us? What was she like physically as well as what she was like as a person?
My mum was she was hard as nails, Neil. She was soft as butter. You know, she was. I seen her most vulnerable, and I also seen her throwing grown men out the pub. I seen her one time. I seen her headbutting a guy in the pub, throwing him out the pub. So she was a tough wee thing. She was about 4 foot tall, and when I used to go back on holiday, and I'd obviously grown. I was doing my training and what have you. People used to say, "How the hell did you manage to fit out there? You know, we've been the size of you. Look at your mum." And but she was a wee woman, but she had a massive heart, and I actually saw her. She gave her last 2 bob, and I saw her do it when we had nothing. So that's my mum in a nutshell.
Because she didn't have good health either, because there's several references to being sick frequently. She had hospital spells as well.
Yeah. She had a bad stomach. She had probably smoking. She smoked a lot.
Yeah.
She liked the wee drink as well. But in her years, when she was an old woman, she stopped that. She stopped that, and she stopped drinking and all that stuff. And but she loved eating, and she ate all the wrong stuff. You know, the old Scottish diet. And but she was a great cook. She was a brilliant cook, and but she did have health problems, and affected us as well. But she always came back. She always came back. She was always down to get back to work, or back to earning some kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
So for us,
yeah.
But I got hard. I got pretty tough, and I had to step up when I was a kid, when I was young.
Yeah. Which neatly brings us into the next question. Your upbringing was very much set against a background of poverty and domestic abuse. And this is the only time I will mention your dad, and that largely it was your dad that was the cause. How resilient do you feel that experiences have made you?
Oh, it's maybe very resilient. I took the experience that I went through, processed them myself, and it took us a while. I mean, it took me a while. It took me a while to get sort of on track, but it wasn't really until I left Dundee that I started, really thinking about it, and then I thought, well, I could either sort of go down the wrong track, because when I was in Dundee, I was starting to do a few things that I shouldn't have been, just to try and get money. And I wasn't on my own, but there's a lot of people doing the same thing. But I thought to myself, I don't want to be like him. I don't want to be like my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to give my mum any grief. So when I went to Australia, I just thought, Neil, when I left for Australia, there wasn't much opportunities for me there. There's as in work. I never went to school. So that was my fault. But I really got off to a bad start at school, and I just couldn't pick it up. I couldn't understand. It was just stupid. These days I've worked my way up the ladder, into the managers for the biggest construction companies in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not stupid, and I never was stupid. But I used to play stupid. I used to play dumb for a laugh, you know. because if you were making people laugh, then that was good. But I was never daft, and I always had my own thoughts, and I always thought I'm gonna go okay. But I always knew, my mum says that as your road's going to be tough. Only you can walk the road. You'll meet loads of people along that road, but only you can walk it. And nobody's going to give you anything in life. You're going to have to work for it. And that's what I've done. And it's always stuck with me since I was like 12-year-old. So that's me. But it has made us resilient.
Was the boxing an outlet for you as well? When did that start?
I wasn't really the boxing in general. I was actually training. Neil, I started training when I was 11, and I was all sorts of training. I'd done anything that was hard, physically hard. I done it, and then I done marathons. I took up running. I done running for a lot of years, like serious running, road work, and marathons. And the boxing was just like a side thing for me because, let's face it, nobody likes getting punched in the nose.
Yeah.
But I just done it for the training and the discipline, and it kept me on the right track. And also, I always thought my old man would come back. And I thought, well, if he comes back, at least I'm going to be, it's not going to be futile. I'm going to go if he come back. And that was a reason. But when I left Dundee, it just kicked off for me, like big time with the boxing, and I trained even harder, and I was getting involved with world champions and things like that. So it just evolved, through the years, and then here I am, nearly 60.
Good. There's one chapter in the book, I think it's called actually Animals, but you encountered a large number of pets growing up. There was Caesar the dog, which you might want to dwell on. There was a horse. There was even a chimpanzee brought home at one point. Can you expand on these?
Yeah, well, the horse was, my old man had obviously acquired this horse from somewhere. It was a pony actually, but it was in the front garden. Me and my mum never knew.
Yeah.
And
in the middle of St Mary's, you had a horse.
Well, he lived in Kirton. He lived in Camperdown Road, just down for the Admiral. But I was in the front garden. But he'd be bringing him different animals. We had a macaw parrot, a blue and yellow macaw parrot. That was there for a couple of days on a perch and it was gone. Not in a cage, it was on a perch. But the funny end was the monkey, the chimpanzee. And he actually won that for the carnival. So the carnival used to set up sticks and just across for the Admiral. And he won it in a card game, which went wrong. It was like a fist fight. And he beat the kind of traveller guy. And he brought him the monkey. But the monkey was only there for a night. That was gone as well. And I was just a kid, and I'm like amazed. The monkey was nearly the height of me. And just came and sat beside me on a settee. But I had a wee nappy and everything on. It was just unbelievable. But the big one for me was, like, psychologically, the big one for me was Caesar. So Caesar, I was totally attached to this dog, and I had it for a while. And then he wanted to sell it, and I told my mum, and I heard him, and I thought, well, I'm gonna run away. I was like some Huckleberry Finn, probably watching too much TV or something. And so me and the dog ran away. I made a load of sandwiches, and we never knew where we were going. I didn't have a bean in my pocket, never had any money. I had about 10 sandwiches, jam sandwiches, and the dog ate them all. And I had to head home. And as I said, it's in the book, but I got battered, and I never saw my dog again. Ever since that, right through my life, I've loved dogs always, and I never ever had one. And then I've got a dog now, so I've kind of come full circle. So this dog, like me and this dog Bobby, oh man, I love that dog. He goes everywhere with me, and yeah. But it took us a while to get there.
So overall, I mean, despite as I say, the backdrop of domestic abuse, you must have a favourite memory of growing up in Dundee. What would that be?
I've got loads of great memories. Like I wasn't all gloom and doom for me. Like we went through stages of it, and hardship and stuff like that. But everybody else was as well, you know. But everybody's got their own story. But Annie's boy's my story, and me and my mum's story. But I just think that I've got loads of great memories going to berries, trying to get on the bus, ducking in Devon, you know, trying to make a quid on the side, all that stuff. I've got loads of good memories. But the thing I miss about Dundee is the people. I really miss it. So does my wife. Like you're like the Australian people are on a different wavelength. You know, they don't get your jokes, you know, or things like that. You know, I do miss the people, and when we do go back, it's just great to just sit there and listen. You know, and but I've got loads of memories. Too many. I've got my Uncle Joe. I've got great memories with him. Going to the boxing. Just there's too many. But the main thing is, and I miss the grub as well. I miss the lawn sausage and the black pudding and that. So I miss all that stuff as well.
Absolutely, you will not get that in Australia, I wouldn't think. I mean, is there still family here? No. Is there anybody to come back for?
Not really. No. There's a couple of things happened, and it's no kind of worked out very well. But my wife's got family there, and when we come back, we go. We don't get back very often. It's very, very expensive to go back, and when we had the kids, obviously just impossible actually. But it's not really no. But when I come back, I'm due to come back soon. But I was actually going to be coming back this month, but I was coming back for a fight, and I was going to come up and do that thing with yourself, but I just never worked out. But I'll be coming back soon. Now and again, you get that feeling, you know, you get the feeling in your heart, and you just got to go. So my wife went back last year, so it'll be my turn next time.
Yeah. Good. I mean, we'll look at probably if you do make it back, we would certainly welcome you back into Dundee Libraries for a session, and we could maybe expand more on the boxing the next time. But certainly there's been a lot of interest. I don't know if I've actually mentioned this in the email correspondence we've had when we were setting this up. We've struggled to get the books. As you know, you kindly bought and donated and sent one over to us. We can now finally order them from our library supplier, and the local Waterstones have promised us they will have them in stock soon. I'm hoping by the time this is broadcast, they should actually be on the shelf. So we're getting there slowly. You've touched on as well that kind of originally,
that's great news.
Originally, the book was written as a screenplay, but it was just a couple of days ago. You mentioned Hollywood might be sniffing around this, and there might be a couple of big name actors.
Yeah. So obviously I can't mention any names because I've been told not to, but there is interest. There's somebody that's very famous, read it, and there's a couple of other people for Hollywood read it. Brian Cox, Dundee man. It's not him, but he loved it. He gave it. He wanted to get a quote so it could go on the book. He loved it that much. There's been a couple of other people that have sort of Hollywood kind of types, but the group of people that want to do the movie, they're very famous. I wouldn't have mentioned their names, obviously, but like it could all be pie in the sky, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I'm not holding my breath. The main thing for me, Neil, is the book. The book's always been the thing to get my mum remembered, and get my mum remembered long after I'm gone. Like. That book is going to be on a bookshelf in my family over here, and grandkids and whatever else, and that makes me feel pretty good. You know, my mum's going to be remembered, and it's a good thing. But the film, look, obviously the film is one thing. If it comes off, I'd be beside myself. I'd be so happy, but I'm not holding my breath. You know, like they're saying they're interested. They're saying they love the book. The producer and thingy loved it, but they've still got to find the funding.
Yeah.
So funding could take years, you know, and they've got to get the right people in, and you know. So I'm happy because they've actually noticed our story, but we'll just wait and see.
Well, I mean, one of the books that because the one you sent over, you very kindly wrote a note in for us. That will go into our local studies collection, and they eventually get kept for posterity. So you'll now always be part of Dundee Libraries. And as I say, we're going to try and get extra copies as well. So you will very much be remembered here. We're kind of bringing this to a close now. So is there anything else you want to highlight kind of about growing up in Dundee that we've not mentioned? Any other experiences? Do you want to even just advertise the book to see if you can encourage anybody to read it?
Neil, you know what would be a great thing? If the people in Dundee could maybe get behind it. I'm not on about buying a book. They can buy the book if they like it. But I know a lot of people are passing the book on, to their mates and their grannies and their aunties and uncles and that. And that's great. I'm just happy it's out and about. So if the people at Dundee could get behind it and maybe try and ring up the Ret or something and just say, look, we'd like to see a play. I'm pretty sure it will happen. But it's just little old me.
Yeah.
But,
well,
no, other than that, but as I said, I'm very happy. I've been overwhelmed with the response for Annie's Boy internationally. Lot of Scottish people. As I said, this is a generational book. It's not just about Dundee, but as in for people reading it, and that's hopefully the response we've been getting from Canada, Iceland, France, everywhere, like America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. So it's been well received, and I'm not sure how many copies it's sold. I don't care, but the publisher cares obviously. But they'll tell me in due course. But I was never about that. I was just to get my mum remembered. That was all.
Yeah. Well, as I say, we're going to bring this to a close. So thank you very much for coming today, Gary. Thank you for taking your time to join us. I hope this has worked technologically wise. As I've mentioned before, copies of the book will book up again. Annie's Boy that is available for loan from Dundee Libraries. Waterstones will have copies available to sell soon. We'll hope to see you in Dundee at some point. As you've touched on, you were due to come over, but the flight got cancelled, so you're not coming. We would very much welcome you in for an author visit if you actually do come over, Gary, so please stay in touch. I'm sure the people in Dundee would love to hear your story. And there's always a huge appetite for kind of local history and local interest stories in Dundee. So thank you again for coming. Anything else to add, or kind of just is that as done, do you think?
I just want to say thanks very much for the opportunity, and I hope it's a good thing you're doing, like with the libraries, and it's a good thing, and I hope like maybe people can afford to buy the book, at least they can go to the library and read it. So that's the main thing. The story's getting out there, and that's the main thing. No, and hopefully it helps people. Hopefully it helps people.
No bother. Well, thanks again, Gary.
Thanks very much, Neil.
No bother. I'm going to hit record, but if you stay there, we'll have a quick chat at the end, okay?